Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our Rural and Regional Park Grant Program session today. Before we get started, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. I am Richard Rendón, and I am the supervisor of the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program that is administered by California State Parks Office of Grants and Local Services.
And hi, everyone. I'm Natalie B., and I'm also supervisor in the Office of Grants and Local Services, and I oversee the Regional Park Program. And we're so glad that you're attending our session today. And we do want to encourage participants to please use the chat feature as we go through our session today to ask any questions that you have, and we'll be able to provide a response. And then we'll also have time after our presentation for a live discussion when we go into our breakout room. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Rich.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. So here are our learning objectives. And after today's session, you will be able to identify potential new funding opportunities for trails and state bond measures and additional state and federal funding sources. In addition, you should be able to identify the similarities and differences between a rural recreation and tourism program and the regional park program. And finally, you will learn how to apply for trail funding from upcoming Proposition 68 grant programs, the Habitat Conservation Fund, the Recreational Trails Program, and the Land and Water Conservation Fund. So with that, I will now turn it over to Natalie.
Thanks, Rich. So today we're going to cover two programs that are part of the Prop 68, the 2018 Bond Act, and that was passed on June 5th, 2018. The passage of Prop 68 authorized $4 billion in general obligation bonds for the creation and rehabilitation of state and local parks and other climate, water, and flood projects. OGALS is administering approximately $1 billion for local assistance through various programs, such as the $650 million statewide park program, the per capita program, the recreational infrastructure revenue enhancement program, the locally operated state park program, and of course, the two programs, which are the majority of what we'll be discussing today during our session, the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program and the Regional Park Program. Both of them were appropriated in the July 2020 state budget. Okay, so as you can see here, there is a combined total amount of $46.2 million available between these two programs. Each one provides $23.1 million. And the intent of both programs is unique. For instance, the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program, which we call RRT for short, is focusing on creating new recreation features in rural areas. The Regional Park Program, which we've shortened to RPP, is focused on creating or improving regional parks. So while there's a wide variety of recreational features that are eligible under both programs, we assume that you're all here today interested in trails, which are eligible in both programs. In fact, multi-use trails are actually specified in the Regional Park Program legislation as a priority. So as we go through our presentation today, our examples will be focusing on proposed trail projects. And this is such an exciting opportunity given the amount of funding available from these two programs. Many of you are probably familiar with our non-motorized recreational trails program that is administered by our office. However, the amount of funding available through that program, it would take over 27 years to reach the level of funding that we're discussing today, the $46.2 million that could potentially result in new trail projects. And down here at the bottom, the application deadline for both programs is November 5th, 2021. And now I want to go over the timeline for both of these programs. And they're similar for both. The first box I want to point out here is July 1st, 2020. And this is the start of the grant performance period. So this means that, as I mentioned, these two programs were put into the 2020 state budget. So that's the start of the grant performance period. And what that date means is it marks the start date of eligible costs. So if you're currently working on some pre-construction planning types of costs, if your project is selected for funding, they can be reimbursed as long as they were incurred after July 1st of 2020. The next one is January of 2021, and I know that that date is already passed, but I do want to let you know that we conducted numerous application workshops for both of these programs, and we had recordings made, and those recordings are made available on each program website, so you can refer to those after today's session. And we actually went through page by page of the application guides, walking applicants through our entire application process. So those workshops are pretty helpful to refer after today's session. And then November 5th, 2021 is probably one of the most significant dates here on our timeline, because that, as I mentioned on the previous slide, is the application due date. We are going to have an online application system, and we will notify everyone that's in our list serve, as well as put it on each program's website when the applications are able to be put into that online application system. And then we have spring of 2022. So when we get the applications in on November 5th, it takes us several months to go through all of the applications, but we anticipate making those announcements of who's selected for grant funding in spring of 2022. Then you can begin your project after you have a signed contract. And you'll note here the March 2025 is when project completion is expected to be done. And you might be asking yourself, but the end of the grant performance period goes until June 30th of 2025. So why do we have to have our project complete by March? Those 3 months is for the applicant to make sure that the project is 100% complete. They get their final payment request package to our office by March of 2025. And that allows time for our office to go out and complete a final site inspection, then come back and process the final payment request and get the funds out to the grantees by the date of liquidation, which is June 30th of 2025. So that covers the timeline. And now I am going to turn it over to Rich, but just want to remind everyone to go ahead and please use that chat feature to ask your questions that you have on your mind. And yeah, I'll turn it over to Rich.
Thank you, Natalie. Now that you have had a high-level overview of both programs, let's jump into the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program specifics. The intent of the program is to create new recreation features and new recreation opportunities in support of economic tourism and health-related goals. As we go through the Rural Recreation and Tourism portion of the presentation, there are some key elements that we would like to impart on you. The first one is the minimum and maximum grant amounts. The minimum grant amount is $200,000 and the maximum grant amount is $3 million. Next, we will be going over the eligible applicants and the definition of rural so you can make sure your application is eligible. Also, unlike other Proposition 68 competitive programs administered by our office, the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program does provide a condition where match is required for this program. And finally, we will highlight a couple of the grant project selection criteria, which I like to call the meat and potatoes of the application package, and why trails are a good fit for this program. Okay, let's start off with eligible applicants for this program, and they are cities, counties, and eligible districts can include any of the following: regional park districts, park and recreation districts, public utility districts, as well as any community services district formed under Division 3, beginning with Section 61,000 of Title 6 of the Government Code. A complete definition of district can be found on page 66 of the Rural Recreation and Tourism Application Guide. In addition, this program has unique thresholds for eligibility. The first threshold is you must be one of the 41 counties in California with a population below 500,000 people. Then, one of two things must also happen. In addition to the above, the project must also be in a city, town, census designated place that has a population below 50,000 people, or the project site must be in a city, town, census designated place with a population below 80,000 people, provided that the county has adopted state planning priorities pursuant to Government Code Section 65041.1, which limits sprawl, protects environmental and agricultural resources, and encourages efficient infill development patterns within incorporated city limits. There will also be on our website showing the counties that are all eligible, as well as the city populations. As I mentioned before, depending on the location of the project site, there may be a match requirement for this program. Match is required if the project site's median household income is above $56,982, according to the Community Fact Finder, which is a tool that gathers demographic data within a half-mile radius of the project site. If it is, the match required will be 20% of total project costs. In order to locate the Community Fact Finder, the link is parksforcalifornia, one word, .org/communities. Here is a sample of the Community Fact Finder report. To determine if the project site's median household income is below $56,982, enter the project site address and move the pin all around within the project site boundary to see if you can locate a spot that is below $56,982 median household income. In this example, the pin has been placed in the northwest corner of the park boundary. As you can see in the project area statistics to the left of the circle, this example shows the median household income is $39,023. So if this was your project location, no match would be needed. Okay, now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this program. The question is, what do you need to do to propose a trail in this program? Here are 3 project selection criteria that you should focus on to make a proposed trail project a good fit for the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program. The first one we'll go over is criteria 2, which deals with resident health and significant visitor attraction. Next is criteria 3, which deals with new recreation features. And then finally, criteria 9, which you will talk about community challenges. So now we'll dive into each of these in the next few slides. Let's begin with criteria 2, residents' health and significant visitor attraction. This criterion has 2 parts to it. And the first part of it deals with the residents in the community. Here you will need to describe the project benefits for the residents' health and quality of life for youth, seniors, and families by improving each of the following. First, you're going to talk about physical activity. How would the proposed trail benefit the health and quality of life for its residents? Next, you're going to talk about cultural enrichment. Are there any potential interpretive opportunities for areas of cultural interest within your proposed trail alignment? If so, describe them and tell us how this will enrich the residents and surrounding communities. After that, there is the environmental education. Are there any unique land formations or ecosystems, etc., that can be interpreted along the trail alignment? If so, you're going to want to describe those. And then finally, economic gain for the community. If this trail is funded and developed, how will it economically benefit the community? Will it lead to increased tourism, overnight stays, money spent on gear, food, groceries, gas within the community, etc.? The second part of this criterion asks about the proposed project site. Here you need to describe why will the project site become a popular destination for out-of-town visitors. In this case, the recreation feature will be the proposed trail. For this, you will respond to what will make the project site a unique or universally recognized resource in the county. Projects that create a distinctive, high-demand recreational resource to benefit the rural area's local economy that will also provide significant health benefits for residents will gain the most points for this criterion. Okay, on to criteria 3, new recreation feature. Applications will be more competitive if most of the total project costs creates new recreation features such as a new trail. This criteria considers the total cost of new recreation features compared to the total cost of renovation and major support amenities combined. Keep in mind, for the purposes of this criterion, new recreation feature means that no trails currently exist within the project site boundary. This criterion asks applicants to indicate whether new recreation features will be created, existing features will be renovated, and/or major support amenities will be created and/or renovated. So projects that will create new recreation features will receive the highest points for this criterion. Projects that will renovate existing recreation features are broken into 2 categories. Renovation projects that are a high priority will be given more points than those that have a low priority. It is important to note that if a project site will be renovating existing recreational features and/or major support amenities, the project still must create 1 new recreation feature within the proposed project site for the project to be eligible. And finally, we'll go over criteria 9, which deals with community challenges. This criterion allows the applicant to summarize the project's need. This is where the applicant can tell the rural community's story, challenges that contribute to the need for the trail project. You would respond to the following 4 challenges in the project site's surrounding community by describing the health and quality of life challenges, the economic challenges, the current lack of out-of-town visitors, and other challenges the community currently is facing. In summary, this criterion is about the current status of the area. Is there a lack of trail facilities that are contributing to a health and quality of life deficiency in the community? Are a lack of trail or recreation amenities contributing to the current economic challenges in the community of the surrounding area? In this response, statistics are not needed. Maximum points will be awarded to projects that will have high challenges compared to other statewide applications. Please use the chat feature to ask any questions you may have. And now I'm going to turn it over to Natalie.
All right, thanks, Rich. So now we're going to get into the regional park program. Now, the intent of this program is to create, expand, or improve regional parks and park facilities. This program is different from our well-known statewide park program, which focused on close to home parks, as this program, the regional park program, looks to attract visitors from at least a 20-mile or countywide radius, and it does not take into account park acreage data within a half-mile radius. So while this program can fund many different types of features in regional parks, such as you see here, campgrounds, visitor and interpretive facilities, trails in the regional park program and trails in the regional parks, as well as regional trail systems, are both eligible. With $23.1 million available to build and renovate regional parks, we have an incredible opportunity to create healthier communities. Same as the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program, the minimum grant amount request is $200,000 and the maximum is $3 million. However, unlike the RRT program, there is no match requirement for the Regional Park Program. The grant by itself can fund the entire project. There is a definition of regional park that we'll get into about what qualifies as a regional park in just a few slides when we go over criteria number 1. So what types of projects are eligible? You can do development projects, and that includes renovation projects, or you could do a combination of acquisition and development projects. Just know that projects that create at least one new recreation feature and a new multi-use trail will be more competitive in this program. And lastly, we'll discuss a few key project selection criteria that we will help you understand how trails are a good fit for this program. But before we move into the criteria, I'd like to review the eligible applicants for RPP, as they are unique from other programs that we administer. The Regional Park Program is unique with particular Prop 68 eligible applicants. Eligible applicants include counties, nonprofit organizations with a 501c3 status, joint powers authorities, where at least one member is an eligible applicant on this list, and then districts. Districts are also eligible applicants. However, districts are specifically defined for this program in the RPP legislation. There is a definition of district in the back of our application guide on page 64 that you can reference after today. But we'll go over the definition. Again, it's very specific in the Prop 68 legislation. So eligible districts include regional park districts and regional open space districts formed under the code cited here on the slide. So if you're a district, make sure that you confirm you are eligible to apply by making sure that your district was formed under this public resource code section. And it's also, again, listed in the definition section in the back of our guide. We also have open space authorities are also eligible to apply as long as they were formed pursuant to Public Resources Code Division 26, commencing with section 35-100. Now, please note that cities are not eligible applicants based on the Regional Park Program legislation. We recognize, though, that there are large city-owned regional parks that have a county-wide visitor draw. So, however, since cities are not eligible applicants, it is possible for a nonprofit, a county, or an eligible district to have a lease agreement with a city and therefore can apply for a project on a city-owned regional park. We have a lease agreement document on our website that provides information required for agreements in these cases. Okay, so now we're going to get into the heart of the program. Richard likes to call it the meat and potatoes, and I call it the heart. It's the criteria. So this is the scored component of all applications. And the same question that Richard asked would be, what do I need to do to propose a trail in this program, and how could it be a good fit? So there's 4 project selection criteria that should focus, that you would focus on in order to make your trail project a good fit for this program. So we have the criteria 1, which is the regional park summary. Criteria 2 is talking about significant regional attraction. Criteria 3 is the type of project, and 9 is project benefits. So now we'll dive into each of these slides, and we'll start off with criteria number 1, which is the regional park summary. And this is where we will discuss the definition of a regional park and how does your project site qualify as a regional park. A regional park is an open space area or a regional trail system that attracts visitors from at least a 20-mile radius or county-wide population and offers unique or significant open space with at least one designated recreation feature for nature appreciation, athletic activities, or cultural enrichment. And as you can see, trails could easily fit or meet all of those elements. Now, regional parks generally offer at least 50 acres of open space or has a recreation feature that will attract visitors from at least a 20-mile or county-wide radius. Now, we understand that some smaller parks, even if they're less than 50 acres, still have a regional draw due to a unique recreational opportunity. So if that's the case, these parks can still qualify as regional parks as they'll have that regional or county-wide draw. So the same goes for regional trail networks that are not technically located within a regional park per se. So you'll explain how the proposed trail will have a regional or county-wide draw. And these qualifiers really help us uphold the intent of the program, which is to create, expand, or improve regional parks. Okay, so criteria 2 is the significant regional attraction. So now that we've established how your site qualifies as a regional park, the intent of criteria number 2 is to identify how the proposed trail will create or improve a regional destination. So how or why is the proposed trail going to attract visitors to be a regional destination? Is it through historic, cultural, natural, or scenic points of interest? This criterion allows applicants to explain how this project will make the regional park a special destination, and people will want to travel from surrounding communities. What's going to draw them to this regional park? The criteria response is compared to all other statewide applications, and those that identify recreation features that are unique, are exceptionally significant, or are highly recognized resource that will attract visitors within the region will be more competitive. Criteria number 3 is about the type of project. So this criterion allows the applicant to identify what type of project is being proposed. And as I mentioned earlier, trails actually really have an advantage in this criteria because while the project can include a variety of recreation features, projects that include a new or extend a multi-use trail will be more competitive than ones that do not do that. This is because the Public Resources Code, section 80065A, which is the legislation for this program, specifically says we shall provide preferences to projects that include a multi-use trail. Now, a new trail is defined as the construction of a trail or trail segment that did not exist prior to the application deadline. This can include trail gap closures. So I want to point out the difference between new trails for RPP versus the RRT program. As Richard mentioned, under the Rural Recreation and Tourism program, if there is a trail within the park boundary, trail extensions or gap closures are not considered new recreation features. However, under the RPP program, it is okay if there's already a trail within the park boundary. A new extension or segment qualifies as a new recreation feature. And of course, you probably all know, but multi-use includes at least 2 user types. So such as walking and biking or hiking and equestrian, as long as your project has at least 2 user types, it will be considered a multi-use trail. Now, applicants can get maximum points for criterion 3 by including all of the following that you see here on the slide. So 1, at least you're creating at least 1 new recreation feature. You're also creating or extending a multi-use trail, which can double as your new recreation feature. And the combined total cost of the proposed recreation features versus major support amenities, which are things like restrooms or landscaping. So again, as long as the combined total cost of the proposed recreation features is greater than 50% of the total project cost. So in summary, if the project proposes a trail and a new restroom at a trailhead, as long as the cost for the restroom is not greater than 50% of the total project cost, and the majority of the costs are going for the trail, then your project will be more competitive. Okay, so the last criteria, number 9, we're going to go over is the project benefits. And this criterion allows the applicant to describe the project's benefits for youth, older adults, and families. There's 3 health and quality of life conditions that we'll discuss: physical activity, cultural enrichment, and environmental education. Applicants will explain how the project will positively impact the community through each of these 3 health and quality of life conditions. So examples include types of physical activities. Will this project provide a place for exercise to improve community health conditions? For cultural enrichment, are there any potential interpretive opportunities for areas of cultural interest within your proposed trail alignment? If so, describe how this will enrich the visitor's experience that helps tell the story of the region. And then finally, the environmental education could include installation of interpretive panels along the trail. Maximum points will be awarded to projects that will have significant benefits compared to other statewide applications. So you might be thinking, well, which program is the best fit? Earlier, we pointed out some similarities, such as, well, trails are eligible for both programs. So that's great news. And I just wanted to cover some of the differences and a recap of what we've discussed today to help you determine if one program is a better fit for your proposed trail project. You can apply for both programs, though. I do want to make that point as well, if you're eligible to apply under both. Okay, so first is the Rural Recreation and Tourism Program. Again, the focus here is to create new recreation opportunities in rural areas. And the primary purpose of the proposed project should be to attract out-of-town visitors to boost economic, tourism, and health-related goals. There is a match required if the project site's median household income is above $56,982. And the eligible applicants are cities, counties, districts. Now for the regional park program, projects must create, expand, or improve regional parks and regional park facilities. There's no qualifiers as far as needing to be in a rural area. These projects should attract visitors from at least a 20-mile radius or countywide draw, and there's no match required. And then again, this unique eligible applicants for this program, it does not include cities, nor generally would it include like community services districts or local recreation and park districts, but instead it allows counties, open space authorities, regional open space districts, regional park districts. So make sure again that you're looking at those definitions to make sure that you are formed under those codes. Nonprofit 501c3s and JPAs are also eligible to apply for regional park program. Okay, so thank you, and please keep using that chat feature to ask us any questions, and I'm now going to turn it over to Rich.
Thank you, Natalie. Before we end our session today, I would like to recap some important points. Keep in mind, the application deadline is November 5th, 2021. There is $23.1 million available for each program. In between now and the application deadline, we do recommend that you go to each program website and review the entire application guide, as well as listen to the webinar clips from our virtual application workshops we conducted in January of this year. For your convenience, the program websites are displayed here on the screen. In addition, we highly recommend signing up to receive email updates from our office that will keep you informed on the latest information about all of our grant programs. If you go to the main OGAL's website, which is parks.ca.gov/grants, on the right-hand side under related pages, there is a link that says sign up for email updates. Just click on it and add your email address, and that way you'll be in our listserv. While today's session primarily focused on the 2 Bond Act programs, our office does administer other competitive grant programs that can also fund trail projects. The following programs have a tentative application deadline sometime in early 2022. Typically, we announce application due dates and application workshops 4 to 6 months prior to the application deadline. These notifications will be on the program web pages and will also be sent out to our listserv subscribers. Here is a brief overview, but you can find the program information and application guides on our grants website under grant programs. We have the recreational trails program, non-motorized. This has about $1.7 million per year. Currently, we have about $3 million available for the next cycle as we are combining 2 fiscal years. Eligible applicants are cities, counties, districts, and also 501c3 nonprofit organizations. Projects can include acquisition of easements and fee title for trails or trail corridors. In addition, construction and rehabilitation of trails, trailside and trailhead facilities are also eligible. Next, we have the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which has approximately $13 million available for the next cycle. Eligible applicants for this program include cities, counties, and districts. A project for this program can include acquisition or development of land to create new outdoor recreation opportunities, and trails are eligible. And finally, we have the Habitat Conservation Fund. This program has not had an application deadline in several years due to the Proposition 68 program development, and therefore there is approximately $8 million available for the next application cycle. Cities, counties, and districts are eligible to apply. There are 7 subcategories under this program, one of which is for trails that bring people to a park or to wildlife areas. Again, it is expected that the next application due dates for these programs will be sometime in early 2022. And finally, here is the contact information for both Natalie and I, as well as our main office webpage. From that webpage, you can find out who your competitive review recreation specialist is. Each county is assigned to one of our 8 staff members. Any questions you have about a competitive program administered by our office can be answered by your assigned recreation specialist. Keep in mind that California has always been a leader in the park and recreation profession, which has shaped so much of our state's world-renowned identity. We hope you get excited about this unique $46.2 million opportunity. So as you reflect on today's session, please remember that this is your chance to create history. a chance to leave a legacy in a community that may serve future generations. Thank you for taking part in today's session. We often don't get to say thank you, so thank you for the work you do to build thriving communities throughout California and for the work that you do. As a reminder, all materials you will need to apply for each grant program can be found on our program websites. Again, please stay in touch and contact your competitive recreation specialist with any questions you may have. We are looking forward to seeing your application soon.